You feel that? You feel that, Heather? That's Aquarius season, baby.
I
That
feel
is
it.
that is Aquarius season. Oh, what a time. Aquarius season and an Aquarius like empire that sort of sprouted at the same time.
Yes,
Empire,
no. Yeah. Or
like
what's
the reign of
the
Aquarius,
reign. There's another word for that too, right? Not dynasty. The
the Aquarian
rain
dynasty.
works. Yeah, like it's so cool that the sun entered Aquarius like right at the same time that Pluto did, and now Pluto's gonna be in Aquarius for almost the entire year. And then next year, we're in it, baby.
That's
But
right. We have a little at like towards the end of the year, it like shifts back into Capricorn.
right around the
We have a moment
election,
of right. We have
yeah.
a moment of like, "Ugh, are we gonna do it?" And then we're
Mm-hmm.
like in it regardless. That's why,
Can't fight it.
right. And Heather and I were just talking about this before. Welcome back, folks. It's me, Miranda Linsky, asking Heather Cunningham here, the goddess of my dreams, all the important questions. What an energetically charged up time. I know we say that a lot, but like we're really in it. And yes, like Heather said, the sun entered Aquarius and then also Pluto, as in the planet, a huge transition entered Aquarius at the same time. Real quick, Heather, before I ask you more complicated questions, do you mind reminding me and the listeners, the folks here, what like Pluto encompasses and what it sort of symbolizes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's obviously the outermost planet, and
Mm-hmm.
so it moves the slowest.
Mm-hmm.
The moon is and the moon's not even a planet, it's a luminary, but it's the closest thing to the sun, so you can track that. It only takes a month
Right.
to move through the zodiac. The Pluto, which is furthest away, takes like over 200 years to
Wow.
travel around the entire zodiac. So you really feel it on a collective, intense level when it enters a new sign. Because, for example, Pluto hasn't been in Aquarius since the French Revolution, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the Industrial
Yes.
Revolution.
The
So,
Constitution, when the
mm-hmm.
Constitution was written, I read as well. I
Yeah.
want to say,
So
maybe
it
is that
spends like
right?
20 years in a sign, and it for people who are born when Pluto is in that sign, it sort of colors what their generation is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also Scorpio's ruling planet, which speaks to the intensity, the concept of the phoenix rising from the ashes, the idea of like total transformation and the need to
Mm-hmm.
break something down in order to rebuild it. And all of the outer planets deal with collective shifts. So
Right.
it's not a personal planet. It's not just like, my Mars is in Capricorn today, so I
Right.
feel like I want to hunker down and work. It's like, no, this is affecting the world, the nation,
A
humanity.
much bigger picture scale.
Yeah.
That is so fascinating. And then the fact that we have a quick slip into Capricorn right before we right around the election, right before we fully indulge into this Aquarius, like you said, like it's inevitable. It is the next step.
Hmm.
I think that we as humans, as a collective, as a whole, specifically, we're obviously when we talk about the election, we're talking about America, so we're talking about a smaller scale, but also on a much even bigger collective than that, right? It's this idea that we're kind of at a fork in the road. We really have a moment here, not to scare anyone, but it does feel a little loaded. It feels charged in a way that's like, oh God, how's this gonna go? Right?
Hmm.
Is like the reign of Aquarius going to sort of go this direction or this direction?
Hmm.
And I think as this year sort of unravels and as we're really in the tippity tip top of this sort of like peak of Pluto entering Aquarius, I think we're really sort of gonna see how it's gonna unravel. I hope we can really, I hope we know, I hope we can all get on a track. before
Yeah.
that Capricorn time. I really believe in us. I
Yeah.
really do believe in us. Like,
I do too.
I have a lot of hope for us as a bigger collective in our
Yeah.
generation. I just really have a lot of hope in this Aquarius reign, so to
Yeah,
speak.
no, absolutely. And every sign has pros and cons. I'm not going to, I'm biased. Obviously, I am an Aquarius. I really resonate with the Aquarian energy.
Right.
However, there are, negatives to every sign, and there is potential for it to go one way versus another. I don't want to be like too idealistic,
Right.
um, but Aquarius is the sign of humanity. It's one of the last signs of the zodiac. It's the water bearer. It's literally the essence of it is about spreading peace. And I'm really excited to talk about the celebrity we're going to cover because I think he is such a staple of this archetype. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it's hard not to be optimistic when it's Aquarius, I think. But
Right.
on the flip side, I would say the negatives of Aquarius are uh it's the sign of humanity, but at the same time, it's like they say that Aquarius is like loves humanity, hates humans, and there is that like detachment, and especially with certain Aquariuses that are closer to Capricorn, I think it's there's like a mechanical or overly detached thing that they say can develop, and like I think the immersion of AI is
Mm,
interesting because it's like we can use it to help humanity, or it
right.
can be the thing that like detaches us so much that it actually like we're too in the brain and not enough in the Leo heart, the opposite sign.
Right. That's a great I love what you just said about that too, Heather. And like again, as we said, like there's pros and cons to every sign. I would like to I feel like that is a maybe harsher way of saying it, but like even as you said that, I was like, yeah, I guess, just like the human experience when it's like there's a spiritual and then very limiting human aspect that comes with that, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
whole idea of getting on a higher vibration is to be very connected to that spiritual, which is can be very difficult in a limiting human experience, if that makes sense, before I get
Mhm.
too big with it. But like that's the light and the dark, right? That's the still having the attachment to spirituality and bringing that more into humanity. Just like there's light and dark to everything, and light will always outweigh. That's just like the nature, right? Light will be seen in the dark,
Mhm.
more to speak, and so it outshines it. Does that make sense?
I'm
But
thinking of the Casey Musgrave song where she's
yeah,
like, the flowers grow through the pavement, or like when you think it's gone, love has a way of I
right,
wish the
right.
exact lyrics were coming to me right now, but love is a wild thing. That's the song. Love is a
Yes.
wild thing. Yeah,
No,
very that.
exact. Yeah, okay, maybe I stole this from her. No, I'm just kidding. But
I love
yeah,
her.
like that's the whole ebb and flow to this. And while you're like saying this about Aquarius, Heather, and explaining it, and I know you're a little biased. Um, it is interesting though, because we were discussing this, I think off the podcast, but Aquarius is like kind of known as the astrological language, or it's
Yes,
very
the sign of astrology. Yeah.
yes. And the fact that Pluto is entering it, the world as a whole, not to like plug the podcast as people are listening to it, but like it does, like the world as a whole in terms of spirituality, astrology, how that all connects.
Way more open
Um,
than ever.
right. And so this at this time when we're talking and it's being way more casual, and we're just talking more about astrology and everyday more conversations, and people are getting more educated on it and its complexities, we're now moving into the sign of astrology in a time when it matters most, when we do have an option to kind of either take a sharp left or right. And I think that I think
Realize
it just like I'm sorry. It just does make sense to me. It's kind of funny that you say that Aquarians love humanity, but like how get this like rep for like but hating humans. I do think there's a lot of human problems that have been made, right? There's a lot as a human collective. We have work to do to undo something we did. I think weirdly we're in a place in society where it is very natural to sort of fucking hate our own guts with what we've done to for the damage we've done to a lot, just like the environment, to fellow people, to the world as a whole. Just, you know what I mean? Like there is a lot. It's like you want to save humanity, which can, I think, sometimes causes you to hate it in the first. It's a
No,
really
yeah,
interesting concept.
it's
It makes all the world in the sense to me that like that joke of a phrase just like makes a lot of sense to me,
yes,
especially.
no, me too when you put it that way, because it's like it is, I mean, the last few Aquarius and Pisces, I think, are the most idealistic signs of the zodiac. And it's both, but like we're talking about Aquarius, but like it's because it can see the potential. And
Then it's
like,
frustrated, or
it's
it's like, why
like
can't
we
more
can
people just think
all,
like this? And it's like
yeah,
that's
we
the
all have the
whole
power
that's the
to
game.
be original, to really embrace our individuality, and to support each other and understand that we're a part of something larger. We're all connected.
Right.
So yeah, but I'm really excited. I love how you said, like, yes, Aquarius is often pegged as the sign of astrology, of the language of astrology. There is an inherent understanding in Aquarius, I think, that we're all connected. It's the sign of, even if you don't understand that inherently at like a spiritual level, or you don't welcome that idea, Aquarius is very in tune with like patterns.
Right.
And yeah, so there's the propensity to like understand that there's something going on.
Right.
But what else was I going to say? Oh, I think a few episodes I said that I'm worried because I'm like, what if AI can read natal charts, and this thing that takes like 10 to 20 years to understand? It is a language. I think it's even harder than, I took Spanish for 10 years and can't speak that fluently, which is embarrassing. But like astrology, I think is even more complex than like a language like that.
Right.
And the idea that AI could just sweep in and read a natal chart is very scary to me. But at the same time, I was thinking the other day, well, like if technology makes it easier to synthesize all the like
Mm.
complexities of the zodiac, and that leads to people being able to understand it and see the magic of it more easily, then maybe that's not such a bad thing. That's a thought I had.
Right. That's Heather, I'm so proud of you, because I know you've been stressing about this AI
I
situation.
have. I'm really stressed.
But like, it is just interesting that you say that, because I remember when we were reading whatever it was that I was reading to you, when I was like, Heather, listen, I know we've
Mhm.
talked about this before, but this like made me like think of you. Hee hee hee. And I was reading about astrology and how it's or about Aquarius and how it's the like astrological language, yada yada. It
Yeah.
talks about that. How Aquarius is also the sign that takes that scientific fact, takes that mathematic approach, that logistic side of things, and connects it in a way that I think is enlightening. It makes it make
Yeah.
sense in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And that's a beautiful revelation you had, because I was thinking about this after we read this, and I don't think I shared it with you, but I was like, oh, that's so interesting too. Like Heather doesn't need to be worried about AI. She'll command AI. Like she'll,
Oh.
or you know what I mean? Like that's a beautiful way. That is just a beautiful way of looking at it. And I think you're right. But also I just wouldn't worry. I think, again, this is a very interesting time we're entering, and you're not the only one who has fear of technology. Even the people who
Oh,
made AI are
yeah.
like afraid of this shit. They're
Yeah.
just
No,
like,
I've seen it.
we've
Yeah.
seen enough robot movies to know that like it doesn't end well for the humans when we do this. And um it's just like the overall connection as a whole, and especially the recentness of a pandemic and how we're still seeing the sort of like frayed ends of that is not like a nice closed up shut case like that.
Hmm.
That's definitely like we're still seeing the effects of what of that, and we're also not quite like, it's not like we're out of it. COVID's still rampant in the
No.
streets.
No.
But it
Yeah.
is just like I just don't, I cannot accept that that window of time was not a huge part of like us learning something too, and the way, and is going to largely affect the way we move forward in a way that is so much beneficial for the entirety of humankind. I cannot accept another
I think
reality.
so. And I think it's so symbolic that I want to be careful how I speak about it, but I think it's so interesting and timely that that happened like at the end of this. And again, yeah, we're not done with it, but like the bridge between Capricorn and Aquarius. And um another thing I want to add if we're talking about Aquarius is that coming off of Capricorn, which is very about um having the achievements on paper. It's about leadership and authority. But Aquarius is like the broader humanity, and Aquarius is very anti-establishment. And if you look at like the zodiac and how each sign kind of like they say fixes the characteristics from the previous one or modifies it or adds something, then like there's something about Aquarius that's very anti-establishment,
Mm-hmm.
anti-system in a way that I think we like really fucking need right now and that I
And
like
want.
feel and
It's
want.
like a
Yeah.
desire. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think people want it. So I'm excited.
That's also just as you were talking, you just made me think about too. If anything, again, we always want to be careful with how we're speaking about a global pandemic. I don't think any of our listeners assume that we're being
Yeah,
like,
and
this
I'm
was
not
for
an
the
expert
best.
on anything.
Right. But the
So
fact that it happened is part of our reality. And the fact that it's still happening is a part of our reality. Um, and that's what I'm more just like, look at how much we learned. If anything, that drive for human connection, I feel like was amplified.
yes.
There was a beautiful
And the questioning
realization.
of authority at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And having and just vibing, like
Yes.
just being human like that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, again, I know a lot of people obviously worked remote or did not have work at all. But this like just time of you had to sit in the stillness. We had to sit in the
Yes.
stillness. This like idea of like grind culture became almost ridiculous. And
Yes.
like this like world of like, oh my God, look how much we can be doing and all the energy we can be saving for the things that matter more to us, right? Like just huge like realizations. And then also still that drive for wanting to connect, which technology did bridge a huge gap for. But
Mm-hmm.
also I think that like if anything, technology was not, this is just also something I wanted to add, Heather. I think it was a beautiful reminder that it was not the real thing. We've come a long way in technology, being
Right.
able to like zoom all the time during a pandemic or what have you. Like people still put on theater shows for fuck's sakes. And
I
like,
know. I'm
like,
hoping and thinking theater could be bigger after all of this.
who knows? But
Yeah.
like, there was still a way. But if anything, the fact that that people still wanted to get outside, I think
Yes.
overrules so much of still what technology did for us. Does that make sense? Like, it
Totally.
was still
Yeah.
like people wanted to return to a normalness, but I feel like the huge driving force in that was obviously to go places, to not alone, to do things with other people, to
Yeah.
connect. So it's like that overall human need and want and drive. Again, I'm just hoping continues as it feels like it has to
Yeah.
override. Um, yeah,
And
if that makes
it's
sense.
gotta. I know. Thank you for saying that. I think so too. And it's comforting. And I also, this is just me speaking personally, but like I think that we're sort of like hitting a cap or like a ceiling on like social media. I feel like, or maybe I'm wrong. Because I'm TikTok seems like it's like thriving and it's new and innovative, but like um I guess just like the sort of shallow like material abundance and stuff like and hustle culture. It feels like we're like reaching a cap of like,
It
is
like
this really meaningful or doing anything for us? Like,
it's wild how much my mind is warped now when I go online. Like I really I almost like despise hustle culture. I'm so almost turned off by this feeling of like performing myself for social media and being like, here's some highlights from this month, or like, here just, like, I think, like, specifically, I guess I'm thinking of Instagram, where like I
yeah.
follow a lot of comedians, for example. I'm a comedian myself. Even just sharing show promotion sometimes feels so fucking gross, or just like, I just see things and I'm like, why am I on here? Like, I know that sounds so, this isn't, we're not innovative by saying this. This isn't the first time, but
Yeah.
I totally hear you because I don't see that always happening with TikTok. I do think it's depends a lot on the content that you absorb, but I think TikTok is a place where you can get exposed to so many more strangers. This is why Instagram and other social media started like sort of doing that. I remember Twitter started doing that too. And now they all do it all the time where they'll show you people you're not following, for example, just to like get you. Like, I think TikTok has become such a, you can laugh at a video 1 minute, you can learn a whole new cooking recipe the next minute. Like,
Right.
you can really, there's so much information on
seems
there.
like there's
Again,
knowledge and
astrology, I think, is great. Or excuse me, Aquarius craves that too. Like the
yeah. Also, people are saying astrology is becoming bigger because of it. Are there ads on TikTok?
there
It feels
are
like Instagram is like literally just a place to like
every other
promote.
thing I scroll. Yeah. You're not the first person to kind of say this, but I totally hear you. I think a lot of social media that's not like, and again, I think TikTok is a little more, just the whole nature of it is like, I'm going to throw up a video of just like my train of thought, which again is very similar to Twitter, but like, I don't know. I totally hear you. Not to like not to like just completely like dilute it down to like social media, for example, but I think even like with how we view Hollywood, the amount of people I know who didn't tune into like award shows this past year and don't really care about it coming up because it's like we, I think, as a bigger society understand the amount of like sort of like a lot of like bad that can come from like really worshiping. I know that this is a whole podcast devoted to breaking down a famous person's birth chart. That's not what I mean.
Well,
But like just this idea of worshiping and throwing our time and money to people who just already have it, and the waste, a lot of like, I think just the excessiveness.
yeah.
Um I yeah, it's just funny how we've come so far in technology, and with that, like for example, TikTok, just one example, what people want to see the most of is like human fucking experiences. Like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
and
I love Reddit too because it's
yeah,
so
we've talked
just
about this.
like
Feels like
sharing
humans to
advice.
humans.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
just really is like,
I
here's what
totally
works for
get it.
me. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Whereas like I
people,
think for a long time social media was like just a place where it's like, here's the highlight reel, essentially. That's always what
right.
it's sort of like, and here's like how I want to be perceived online.
I know.
Um
Oh,
and now it's like, you open a TikTok video and it's like, we're talking about real shit. And I love
yeah.
it. I just
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
anyways, more on this as we go because I could talk about this all day. But
Mm-hmm.
quite an Aquarius we have today, Heather.
Oh my God. Yes. So fucking Aquarius.
So Aquarius.
In the
Like,
best way, because I also
yeah.
want to cover someone who I texted you about who I don't know if you know who they are. They're Aquarius in the worst way, but this person,
Ah. And
anyway,
and that's the balance. And that's the fun.
I know.
Heather, your self-awareness, you
I'm
Aquarians can laugh at
self-conscious though
yourselves.
because I tend to, I think, like overemphasize the Aquarius lot. Like I need to be, I'm very biased, so like I worry
Right.
sometimes if I'm like over the top with like Aquarius is the best, but it's really just that like
Oh
I'm an
yeah. I
Aquarius,
mean,
I resonate with it. We're entering the Aquarius time. It's
please.
so.
There was ever a time. And like as a Pisces, a textbook Pisces with that, I'm constantly like, it's my least favorite thing about me.
Oh,
Like you got to be able to laugh at this a little. Um the human experience is a comedic one.
I know.
Anyways, and
I
with
always
that,
joke that my mom wanted a Pisces, and I was like, fuck that. I'm
you
coming early.
truly, well, and I looked it up too. Um, maybe not your birthday because your birthday is the 17th. Sorry, I shouldn't maybe share that on the pod. Let me know if
Oh,
you
I
want
don't
me to edit
care.
that out. Okay, okay.
No, no.
I'm like, yeah, actually, wish her happy birthday, you bitches.
Yeah.
But like your birthday, I think the 18th is when we go into Pisces season for Aquarius, and then my actual birthday is also, even though I'm a Pisces, Aries is a little early this year.
Oh.
Which like like, so technically, like, even though I'm a Pisces, it'll be Aries. The sun is entering Aries on my actual
Mm.
birthday. So that's just kind of funny. But with that, if there's ever a time to be biased, Heather, this is the
It's
time
the
to,
time. It's
please.
it's it's the
It's also
age.
just so Aquarius loaded. Again, folks, I cannot emphasize enough that yes, the sun has entered Aquarius. We are in Aquarius as a season, but like also just like the overall vibe, the bigger collective, the energy with Pluto entering it, like this is just an Aquarius sort of time
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
and like
Mm-hmm.
how we said it's like the Aquarius rain, Heather, the way I envision it. is like Aquarius just stepped into the castle. Capricorn had an honorary exit. They had a nice, like, they, it
Nice
wasn't
ceremony.
like Capricorn was like killed off.
Yeah.
Capricorn's just going back to like the Capricorn village.
Yeah.
Which is just like down the road, but it's like Aquarius is now, it's like those are the flags of the castle,
It's
right?
our
Like
turn.
that's now like the who's just on the throne.
Mm-hmm.
It's very loaded. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
with that, as we talk about the overall human collective, as we talk about getting on that entire human collective on a higher vibration and more in tune with the bigger conscience, I'm very excited about this celebrity, Heather, the one and
Yes.
only Bob Marley.
The one
Um,
and only, which
truly.
every Aquarius is unique. That's part of the Aquarius archetype. It's
Mm,
very, I'm my own individual. You don't have to tell me who I am. I know who I
mhm,
am, and I'm not going to change for any of y'all.
mhm.
Um,
Bob Marley
but
said that.
yeah, I'm quoting
He
him.
said it just like that.
I actually did take a picture of some quotes that I found today when I was reading about him that felt very Aquarius that maybe I'll share. But yeah, what an individual. Like what a
Yeah.
person. Also love that this movie about him is coming out during Aquarius
Mhm.
season on February 14th, I think.
Well,
Um
and like, and One Love, or like, the
right.
idea of like love and Bob Marley and like spreading it. Like, but I'm part of me is like they had to know what they were doing, but then a
Oh
part of
my
me is
God.
also like, it also just does make sense that it would be Valentine's Day. But again, that Valentine's Day would fall during Aquarius season.
I heard on a podcast, the astrology podcast that I've been listening to recently, which is so fucking good, that Chani Nicholas, who's like one of the biggest modern astrologers right now, said that she got confirmation that there is an astrologer on the marketing team for the Barbie movie, and that, not to tangent us too much, but it came out during Venus retrograde. Remember, I said it was the
Mm.
summer of Venus, the year of Venus, Venus being the
Mm.
feminine sign, being very Barbie coded, and
Mm-hmm.
in Leo of none, yeah, Leo
Please.
retrograding through Leo, and that Greta Gerwig was born with Venus retrograde. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
apparently there was an astrologer on the marketing team picking the day it would premiere. Like
Wow. Okay.
fucking crazy.
Then I
Um,
have to now, honestly think it's more
I
about.
bet that there is a reason that this is. I mean, Valentine's Day, one love, yeah, but also hello Aquarius.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like what an Aquarian message to spread, not just like love in general, but this idea of like one love. Like I think there's also like the idea of like peace and all of us being connected and like all of us being one is very embedded in Bob Marley's message.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a Scorpio moon with Sagittarius
Mm.
rising.
All
Um,
right.
and there is so much in this chart that speaks to like a preacher or like a messenger or like someone who's meant to communicate something. There are
Mm-hmm.
so many placements that have to do with wisdom and thinking very broad scoped, but also so many placements that are like about communicating a message,
Yeah.
um
That
which
is so. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, no, which I just think is so cool is what I'm gonna say.
I was just literally gonna also say the same thing. If anything, like if Bob Marley was the one with the Bible leading the congregation, right? Like you'd have attendances through the roof. Um, because there is this like pure, like he embodies Bob Marley. It wasn't just a brand. That wasn't like a gimmick.
No.
It like was very much him. It was his spirit and his spirituality shone very brightly through his limited human experience. That's like to me what that's the level Bob Marley was on, was that he was so connected to the higher, bigger everything on such a high vibration that that's why like your whole identity can be that, and is that when you're I just yeah. What I wanted to also add really quick, Heather, too, when you made me think of this when you mentioned the preacher and having a message to say. I didn't check these sources, so you'll have to bear with me. But something that's been recently discussed, this is not new. It's just, again, I think it's a lot newer to our Western culture, but like somatic healing, specifically like sound healing.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times somatic healing is like moving your body, or like breath work, I think, can be somatic healing technically.
Right,
Meditation, I
right.
think, moving your actual body, like dancing, I think, can be somatic. Listening to certain frequencies or music. And
Mm-hmm.
apparently it was a thing back in the day that this is why like churches and places that were very sacred, where you would go to pray and heal and connect to your higher self, for messaging and for guidance, and just to talk. A lot of churches had like that was like the whole point of bells, and the entire structure of like the church, and the way the bells of a church would ring, and the
The
structure would be
acoustics
the
of
right,
churches.
was
Yeah.
specifically designed to like hit you in your bones and to
Mm.
be healing on a somatic level. I hope I'm saying that right. The
Yeah,
somatic
this all
healing.
sounds correct to me. Is I think somatic just means like body, like
Yeah.
body spirit connection.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm like, I want to make sure I'm not using that. Alex will let us know.
Yeah.
But
Either
yeah,
way, yeah, totally. This
and
makes
this was a
sense.
thing. A lot of bells have been removed from a lot of sacred spaces because it was like that was the whole point, to not, I forget who did it. There was like a place that removed a lot of bells. Obviously not all the bells are gone, but I never
Right.
knew that that was like an intentional thing. And that was, so again, this isn't new. This was something we knew back when we were building ancient churches. I'm
Yeah,
not going to get
yeah.
specific with the dates because I can't, but that was just so interesting to me. My whole point to this, Bob Marley as an artist, even, so again, his messaging, like his whole, the way he presents himself in society, and then also him as an artist in his actual music, besides the words that he is singing. Again, I didn't check my sources on this, but I've heard it enough times that I'm like, that makes sense to me,
Right.
that he specifically uses frequencies in his songs. Like his songs are recorded at specific frequencies that are like the same hertz level as like like what you get when you go to a church to heal, for example. So
Oh.
again, these bells are like ringing at a level. That's the whole point too, is that the way the acoustics of the church are mixed with the bells, it's like there's a certain hertz that it's like proven to
Right.
heal. And it's like, you know what I mean, like when you almost like you feel the music in your, or like
Oh,
just the sound
absolutely.
like in
Yeah.
your bones even.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's our certain hertz level that has been proven to be healing for people, mentally, physically, emotionally, yada yada. And Bob Marley knew that and put that in his music, made sure his music was at that frequency.
That's fucking
So
awesome.
even when you're
Yeah.
listening, even if you're not vibing with the message, by default, you cannot help that like you're listening to his music at a higher vibration.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
guy was so fucking Aquarius
That
coded.
is so like ahead of your time too, like thinking or
Right.
just thinking out of the box. But
Right.
yeah, wow.
That was how important it was to him. Even if you weren't going to listen to the message, just by listening to his music, you would be on a higher vibration. Like that's
Yeah,
beautiful. And with
that
that, we should
is.
all smoke weed. I'm
We
just kidding.
should. Well, that's the other thing that so I was watching this like YouTube documentary about him today and uh it's so fucking cool and so Aquarius how he was like, yeah, I smoke all day every day. Like it connects me to I think
An
it
honest
connects me to
man.
something higher like no pun intended, like something like spiritual and it opens up my brain and it's like a sacred herb in Jamaica. Like everyone does it. And like and then there was this interview with this really, I don't want to say, I was going to, this really cunty interviewer. I shouldn't say that,
Straight
but
edge,
she was just,
respectfully.
but like honestly, it felt like she was like, like low key, like backhand, like
Like kind
jabbing
of
him.
jabbing at him.
Yeah. Like she kept asking questions like, well, what would you say to people who feel like they can't take you seriously because of the way you look and the way and the
Mm.
fact that you're high on weed all the time and blah blah blah. And he was like, I
I wouldn't say
mean,
anything to them, probably.
yeah, he was
Or like,
like, listen, this is
one love,
me.
bitch.
Like, I make
Relax.
music and
Yeah.
yeah, but he's always just been very like, whatever, I'm not gonna change. And then
Mm.
uh also apparently like he, you know, didn't have money for most of his life, but then with the success of his music later on, he eventually did get money. um and the people in his circle and around him were wondering if that would change him, if that would
Mm,
you know, make him cater more toward commercial endeavors, but that's not the Aquarius way. And
right.
he, you know, he stuck to his true essence his whole entire life.
Well, and I think too in the sorry, Heather, didn't mean to interrupt, but I just
No,
wanted
it's
to
fine.
add, I think in his Aquarius way, it's like it, his whole artistry and his to like again, this is why it felt very authentic. His whole form of and way of being um was about a higher vibration and a bigger something else. And like again, that being the messaging. Um I feel like it's just like, why would he be there if it wasn't because he had something important, if he didn't have anything important to say, almost. And like
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
very Aquarius way of like, I have to get this message out in an
Mm-hmm.
artistry way, or like, or I don't really have an option. Like there's something
Yeah.
really beautiful to that, like that need. Very Aquarius, very Aquarius. Go on. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
realizing that this is like your contribution, this is like what you're being called to do, and just like
And then
really
to not
owning
lose
that.
sight of that
Yeah,
when you
not
do
losing
make a
sight.
lot of fortune from it, it's a beautiful thing.
Totally. Yeah, totally, totally. So yeah, so he has a son in the okay, now the chart I was looking at before, it made it look like it's on the third. It's on the cusp of the second and the third. The third house is the house of communication, but the second house is Taurus's house of like values. So
Mm.
either way, but Sagittarius rising, I mean, Sagittarius is the preacher of the zodiac. It has philosophies that it wants to communicate. Also Mercury in Aquarius being the planet of communication, opposite Pluto, the most powerful planet where you're like brought into power, which is in Leo. He also has Jupiter next to the midheaven, the lucky expansive planet, almost like one could look at this chart and say it was destined to be in the public or to leave a mark on society.
Mm.
And there's Venus in the fourth, and he had 11 kids.
Ah, one
Yeah, big
love.
fan.
And no
And
glove. I'm just kidding. Go on, Heather. Go on.
um, but also you could say Saturn in Cancer, 11 kids. Anyway, um, but yeah, what else? What else? And the 12th house moon, which is in Pisces house of like being connected to something more mystical and taking inspiration from like the subconscious and dreams and things that aren't tangible. And in Scorpio, which is also about like the energies rather than the tangible. Yeah, it's a cool chart. There's also like these really nice grand trines, a shit ton of trines,
I was gonna
honestly,
say,
but
it's
a good
like,
amount of oppositions and squares that bring
yeah,
enough tension and challenge psychologically to really motivate someone to push forward through hard times and to yeah, make something of yourself. Um so
damn. Yeah, his
it's really
chart
cool.
is like filled, or it's just there is
It's very
the way I'm
dynamic,
there's
very spread
there's
out.
so many lines. Yeah, he
Yeah.
just it's like he's got a little bit of everything, it almost looks like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I know I'm still very new to reading the charts, but
No,
I'm
you're
just like,
right.
I feel like I can tell just like on like a, it's not like he's on just one side. And again, I feel like it almost takes someone, again, you don't get to a place of like that one love being your message by not trying to connect and not trying and not seeing yourself in others and not
Yeah.
understanding that if you see something you hate in someone, that you are that is a connection, that they're like that the
Mhm.
things we hate and love about each other are, they are us. And I think that again, that's a huge part of just having, being able to like send love and light out,
Mhm.
is understanding that like you as a human being, you are connected to the bigger
Yeah.
Conscious. You are connected to all human beings. Every individual does fucking matter the same way you fucking matter. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's so telling when someone can really not only do that, like have that understanding and embody it, but then to also make it the thing that makes them famous. Not that even if that wasn't Bob Marley's like goal to get famous off that, but like to just like trust in your gut and your deeper spiritual conscience and like your own bigger connection and knowing that like love is the fucking answer.
Yeah.
As cliche as it sounds at this point, just so many people don't it's really sad when we realize how many people don't have that grip on
Yeah.
I think the higher, even like, I'm not saying I'm always vibrating at the highest level, but I feel like there's so many people who don't even have a concept that you could just be up leveling, vibrating on a higher, more connected. Um, sorry, I don't mean to get so fucking
No, I love it. I mean,
Bob Marley with it. I was gonna say preachy. Just kidding. But like I do think there is something really funny about I think that's what this Aquarius time is too, of like hate individuals all you want. Of course, sometimes we have to, right? You have because it's from a I don't think you
it's
could
really
have that
just
hate
hating
if
the
you are not connected to it.
that
It's
you're
not from a
bogged down by this stupid
right.
system. It's not
And I
hating
think
the
that you
person.
also are part of it. That you're like, I'm
Yeah.
also a human and like I'm connected to this. It's like, I think that is such a huge part of it,
Yeah.
which
Wanting
is so
us
funny about
all to
Aquarius.
up level.
But
Yeah.
right, his chart is so like it just really strikes me as someone who is like destined to connect to more, to like
Totally.
and to be
Totally.
able to reach more and to be able to understand more and someone who wants to um
Yeah. I love
yeah.
what you said about like trusting that the universe will take care of you. I don't think that's exactly what you said, but it made me think of like Oprah and some other Aquarius celebrities that don't even try to like become these huge figures. Like I don't think Bob Marley was in it to be like a big time musician. It's like or Eckhart Tolle or like I don't know. It is very Aquarian to just like even when you're big be so connected to humanity and feel
Right.
so human and real, but also that was the through line the whole time. Like and the universe did just sort of guide these people. I don't know.
It's really
Um
fascinating.
yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
um and it's funny to me that like I'm so happy, for example, the movie's not coming out at like on 420, because I know that so many like
Right.
potheads, myself included in the day, have like back in the day, thank you. Have
I'm
like
like,
I'm like much
I still
farther
can.
back in the day, like elementary school when I was celebrating for wait, too far back, too far back. But like that, I love that the movie is coming out on Valentine's Day. Because yes, while I think it's like I get the youths, and the celebration for 420. But it is like that's not I think that's like when you're first learning about Bob Marley, or like especially for our generation, that is kind of a little bit of the joke is that he was a stoner. But I love that the movie, for example, is like coming out during Aquarius, on Valentine's Day. Whether people understand that energy or not, I think it'll still be more impactful. And
I
in
agree.
terms of like his overall existence, that is what it was. It was like a very loving and putting love out there, and the message was like spread love. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just love that when we think of Bob Marley, we think of love.
Mm-hmm.
And what a that like you always get a little nervous when they want to make movies about musicians, because of course Hollywood is going to be like, and then we're going to do this underbelly dark side of this person's career trajectory before they come back out in a nice spot or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like already that's such an honor to his memory, and that is like
Yeah.
what his memory is.
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
if
love
that
that it's
makes sense.
coming out on Valentine's Day. I couldn't agree more.
That's just beautiful.
It is.
Um, yeah. I just the frequency thing is really interesting to me, and it's something I still want to explore. And now that we're like, especially that we're talking about it, I'm like after this I'm already planning to like I have a Bob Marley playlist set up so that when I take the train and it's really loud, I have my little noise canceling headphones on and can really
Yes.
just like focus on the hurts of
Yeah,
and
my
and the
boss
messaging.
was playing it at work the other day, and I found it very comforting. And then I don't know if that's why it's been it. Well, also I've been like studying him for this, but um, I'm going through a topsy-turvy, unknown, unpredictable time right now. And like as I was doing my makeup this morning, the words just came to me in my head, like, don't worry about a thing. Like,
Oh,
it's true. Everything's
truly.
gonna be all right.
And that's like could not be more peak Aquarian
Mm-hmm.
messaging
It is.
too
It
of
is.
like
Trust the
trust the
flows.
process and trust yourself and trust the universe
Mm-hmm.
because it is what it is and that what it is that it just is going to be all right.
It
It
is.
really is. And I think
It
there is
is.
so much in life and in growth, especially in these Saturn returns for you and me, Heather, that test us. And it's really nice when you get to a place of like, oh yeah, I have gotten myself this far, or the universe has also helped me get myself this far. Why wouldn't that just still be the case? Um, but all in all, this Aquarian energy just could not, for me at least personally, be coming at a better time. Um,
Yes. I
this
do love
Pluto in
it.
Aquarius, and then also just the Sun in Aquarius, of course. And
Yes.
again, in terms of the astrological calendar, how we are now sort of entering like the ending notes of the astrological new year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to shift into like, right, the Chinese new year when the winter
Mm-hmm.
solstice ends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so again, these sort of like this time of like, let's get together so we
Mm-hmm.
can really go forth and prosper, everyone,
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
upon
Mm-hmm.
us. It's an
Mm-hmm.
exciting time.
It
I believe in
is.
us. Bob
I do
Marley believes in
too.
us.
He does. Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure.
Oh,
One other thing I just thought of that I want to add is I
please,
think
Heather.
it's very Aquarius that he like is known for he like is reggae music. Like it's very Aquarius to like I think have he's not a rock star or like a pop star or like any kind of common
Right,
um to be such an expert in something so niche is what I'm trying to say.
right,
For it to be like
right.
known for like he is
And
the
I
reggae
know
person.
it's always like I hate saying I don't hate this. I just like the phrase itself, like someone ahead of their time because to me, if someone encompasses, although that is how exactly how I feel about Bob Marley. I'm like, I just feel like they were ahead of their time. And there's like certain artists we feel this way about, right? Where I'm just like, oh, they were ahead of their time. But what is beautiful about the time that they were in is the difference that they usually made in it.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I love looking at it not so much that they were ahead of their time as much as it was like they were the time. And I just think we as a collective are getting better about picking up on the ahead of the time, quote unquote,
Mhm.
like aspects to things. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
well, instead of letting this be something that's one day going to be ahead of its time, let's make it present time. Like, let's make
Mhm.
that time now.
Mhm.
If that makes
Yeah.
sense. And I do
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he was ahead of his time, don't get me wrong, but I love looking at it from a place of two of like if Bob Marley didn't come out at that time, like what a loss and maybe we wouldn't be as far along without his
Yeah.
music and his
Yeah.
messaging.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I can attest to the fact that I don't want to sound uh victimy or weird by saying this. But I love being an Aquarius, but there is like I think a sort of like feeling of being like an outsider, they say that all Aquarians have, and like it's why
Mm,
a lot of them are quiet is cuz like we have like weird out there thoughts, like it's it for a while I was even weird about being so boisterous about my astrology opinions because a lot of people
oh,
think that that's crazy, or like reality TV, or a lot of the like weird things I'm
right.
into. But like um but yeah, I think Aquarians are placed on this earth to it's the sign of the future to spread a little bit of uh
Originality, a little
originality, that's the word.
not
But again, I don't want to sound
again,
too big on my britches or
But this is the, I think, again, the beauty. I think again, it's really interesting. Again, like we joked about Aquarius being like the sign that loves humanity but hates humans. And again, it's like the sign that wants the general overall collective to connect, but also really enforces individuality.
Yeah.
I think that is, again, so much the balance. And they always say, too, like, we can't heal as a collective until we heal ourselves individually, right?
Right.
It's always like that's like the saying. And I do think that's like, that also is what really Aquarius encompasses, is
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
idea of like, get your alone time. That's important. Like knowing yourself on the individual level, being on the outside, I think is important sometimes to the human
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
experience. And it's like Aquarius almost revels in that. It's like it
Yeah.
needs that to charge its batteries in a way,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so that it can be there for the bigger, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No,
But
yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I agree. Yeah.
so you could be a little biased, but I'm like, I kind of do see that though, again, as part of its ebb and flow, which is why we love
Yeah.
this sign. It's why we love
Totally.
Bob Marley.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pluto is in Aquarius. The time is here. The time is now.
It
The
is
sun's in
here.
Aquarius as well. Heather, shall we prep the folks for what's happening this week?
Yeah, it's a
Coming up.
fun week. We have the full moon in Leo, which
Woo!
I am correct in saying that the first full moon of the year marks the Chinese New Year, right? Or is it the first? Yeah, I think it's the first full moon of the year. I think it's
I think you are
this
actually. I
Thursday.
have it right here in my little my little
It's
astrological
definitely
book.
by the moon, but I think it's really cool that we start off with this
Oh,
full
it's the
moon and
new moon. It's the
the
new
new
moon. And it's
moon. Okay.
the year of the dragon begins on the new moon on February 9th and is celebrated in China on February 10th. The Chinese New Year begins on the second new moon after winter solstice. So it's not when
Okay,
winter
so this
solstice ends, like I said.
next, so the Aquarius new moon will kick it off on February 9th. Is
Yes.
that what you said? Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Because that's the second new moon we will have had.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah. Because
yeah,
we had
yeah,
because our Capricorn new moon was in this year.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we just
Oh, well,
had,
regardless, we just had the Capricorn new moon.
we did. And
Okay.
now,
Go
so
on.
we have this Leo full moon on Thursday. Um, I think it's fun that we still have these full moons in the opposite sign that we're in before
Mm-hmm.
the new moon. Yeah.
That last little
Um,
spark of that energy, right?
yeah, yeah. And I was listening to Channy Nicholas who was saying that like all full moons are felt a little bit like more profoundly and heavier than a new moon, but also in fire signs they're really energized. And Leo,
Mm.
I mean, what a great night to go to a party, to show off, to wear something a little flashy and eccentric. But yeah, also the full moon in Leo is forming a square to Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter is luck and expansion and abundance.
Mhm.
So even though squares are seen as harsh aspects and tension, a square with Jupiter is always kind of fun. So it's going to be a very expansive, bright, fun time with Leo and Jupiter on Thursday the 25th.
I was gonna say,
And
literally, at when this episode comes out, will be the
oh
full moon
yeah,
in Leo.
yeah.
Go on, go on.
And then on the 27th, I'm very excited, slash, no, I'm excited. Uranus goes direct. It's right over my moon, so that's why I'm like,
Ah,
what's it
that's
gonna
fair.
do? But yeah, Uranus goes direct, and it's been retrograde for a good amount of months. And it's the planet of it's Aquarius's planet actually of sudden insights and breakthroughs and unconventionality, but transit wise, it usually disrupts things and shakes things up in order to liberate you and set you on a new path forward. And it is right on my moon and it is right on time. And that's exciting. So
When you
if
say
you
it's
have
right on your
Taurus,
moon, Heather, it's okay. So
you have
your
Taurus placements, you're gonna
Uranus
feel
is going
this.
direct into Taurus,
It's been
isn't it?
in Taurus. It's at 19 degrees of Taurus. My moon is at 19 degrees of Taurus. But it's been like going backwards.
Oh, it's been in
So
retrograde. I
it's been
see.
in retrograde. So now it's going direct on the 27th, which is Saturday.
Yep.
And so it's going to be like re energized and
Gotcha.
pushing you forward again. And so if you have Taurus placements, you're going to feel it more so. But like, look at what degree you have Taurus. Because if you're at the end of Taurus, you'll feel it like in the next few months. If it's at 19 degrees of Taurus, like me, you might feel it
Like
in
right
February
now.
and March. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
so that's fun. And then on January 29th, Venus, which is now in Capricorn, it just entered Capricorn like the other day. It's going to trine Jupiter in Taurus, and Venus and Jupiter are the two benefics, they say, which is like,
Mhm.
beneficial, lovely energy. And trines are the most harmonious connection you can have. So we have Venus in Capricorn forming a trine to Jupiter in Taurus. It's supposed to be a lovely, optimistic, perhaps even romantic time with Venus.
When did you say this was, Heather? I'm writing this down.
29th. Yeah, I know. It's going to be a good week, I think. That is Monday.
Okay, and that's Venus and Taurus.
Yeah, Venus. No. Venus and
Oh, I'm sorry.
Capricorn
Venus and
trining
Cap.
Jupiter and Taurus. So it's a big year for Taurus people because Jupiter moves quicker. It spends like 2 years in a sign, but
Gotcha.
Jupiter just recently, is it still retrograding? God, I should know this. But either way, Uranus and Jupiter are both like two slower moving planets that are not scary planets, and they're moving through Taurus. So it should
Gotcha.
be a fun, exciting time for Taurans this year, as well as Aquarius.
Yeah. Again, it's not always about like what your chart has. There's individual energy to when the placements and planets and movements and sun are entering that energy. So it all applies. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, but I did write those down. I'm trying to get better about really my intentions with my new moons, my full moons, just sort of really embodying the energy we're in because it makes me feel good inside and
Yeah,
out. But yeah, that was beautiful, Heather.
me
Thank you
too.
so much for sharing that. I
Thank
just
you for listening. And
it really is Aquarius season. This was quite this was very educational for me. I don't know what the listeners get out of it at all. Just kidding. But I just yeah, we're really
yeah,
in it.
I don't think we said this while we were recording, but I feel like whenever we enter an air sign, like we're very like, conversation is very like
Yep.
stimulating.
Yeah, my air moon's like more than usual. But no, also yes, the energy is just very static. Static? It's good. It's good electrifying vibes, bitches. Just a gorgeous time. Happy Aquarius season to all,
Yes. Happy,
especially
happy.
you, Heather.
Well, thank you.
Infinite abundance. Pluto's an Aquarius, bitch.
Infinite
Let's get it.
abundance. Let's get it.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.